Men, and as usual, I use the term ever so loosely. If you recall from the Save This Wrench video, I had a hard time milling the slots in this handle. Well, I had a hard time on one of them until I figured out what was wrong. The problem was the end mill was shaped wrong, and as it was transversing the piece of material, the defective shape was causing the end mill to get shoved up into the collet, and the depth of cut was gradually decreasing as the mill transversed across the workpiece. And what I eventually decided was wrong with it was this. And of course, this is greatly exaggerated. The mill had a point on it. Where the flutes came together in the center, there was a little bit of a peak. And this is, like I said, greatly exaggerated. What it needed to have was a little bit of concavity. The center should be lower than the ends or the sides. And as it turns out, the number I find on the internet is this is supposed to be at about a 2-degree angle off horizontal. And anyway, this was screwing up my cutting. And I have been trying to, sharpen end mills by hand, and, it just doesn't work. You just don't have the precision. Plus, if you've got a grinder that vibrates to any degree at all, you just can't get everything steady enough and consistent enough and get the angle the same and the depth of cut the same, and it just doesn't produce the desired result. So I did a lot of poking around on the internet, and eventually I stumbled upon a website and a YouTube channel operated by a guy named Harold Hall. And I'll put links in the description below, but I believe he calls it the Home Metalworking Workshop. And he has plans and designs for a whole system of fixtures and tool holders and things like that for doing boring bars and high-speed steel lathe tools and stuff like that. But what I was interested in was the end mill sharpening part of it. And he has a device, which this is kind of that device. I didn't copy it exactly, but I, figured out what I wanted to do with the material I had on hand and what I was capable of fairly easily doing. And I came up with a variation on his design, which is what you're seeing down here. And there's not a lot here, but this took me, the better part of a week off and on. And, I'd make a little bit, think about it, make another part, think about it. Anyway, it took a while to get this together to the point where I needed it to be, to make this video and show you. But anyway, let's get to how this thing works. Essentially, you have a adjuster, and the adjuster is going to hold a collet block with a end mill in it at the correct depth relative to the grinder. And this is adjustable, and it's adjustable by means of this adjusting screw. The adjusting screw's got a couple of features on mine that Harold doesn't have on his. One of which is this groove into which the set screw sits that keeps this from moving fore and aft when it's turned in and out. So this locks the screw into a set position. And the other thing I have that Harold didn't have was I put this in a 6-sided collet block, and I center drilled little divots around the shaft. And those divots are so this tiny little ball could sit in there, and the ball is pushed on by this spring, and it gives me detents. So I could turn this one detent at a time. Since it was a 6-sided collet block, every 60 degrees I'll fall into a detent. So anyway, let's put this together, and I'll show you how it works. We'll screw this in. And like I say, I've got a ridiculous range of travel on here, and out of that, it should be about a 1/2 inch. I probably will need 20 or 30 thou at a time. So way more travel than it needs, but that's where I ended up. And this is all scrap that was laying around. So we have the locking screw. Put just a little bit of grease on it. Put a little Loctite on the screw. I've already played with this on the grinder, and it does want to vibrate out. I run it until it bottoms out, and then back it off about a turn or so. So it operates smoothly. And the next thing we'll want to do is put the ball in the hole, and there's already just a little bit of grease on there. Then we'll drop the spring in on top of that, and then we'll put the set screw in that holds all that in place. And we'll put a little drop of Loctite. Yeah, and I know it's evil, but I use it sometimes. Little drop of Loctite on the side of that. So I should feel some nice detents. Beautiful, works good. So I could turn this out in increments of 60 degrees of rotation and with 28 threads per inch, you know, whatever that comes out to is how far it'll move with each click. So what do you do with this? Well, here's what you do with it. This is the adjusting, actually this is the tool rest that goes with the grinder. And I've scribed lines on this thing at a 2-degree angle to the face of the grinder because I learned on the internet that this angle here should be 2 degrees off horizontal. So that way I can set this on here and just eyeball the angle to make sure I have the correct intersection or close enough to the correct intersection with the grinding wheel. I got a carriage bolt that goes in from the bottom. The square on the carriage bolt catches in this slot, so I don't need to hold it on the bottom with a wrench. With the slot, I could slide it back and forth laterally, and with the slot on the actual fixture, I could slide it in and out. Of course, there's a knob on it that locks it all down. So I get my end mill set up in my collar block. It'll seat against this face right here, and I could adjust the fore and the aft distance so that I could put a flute in, grind it until it stops grinding until it's used up all the travel, turn it 90 degrees to get the next flute, 90 degrees to the next flute, 90 degrees to the next flute, or just 180 if it's 2-flute mill. Anyway, I think this is going to work good. So let's go try it out and I'll show you how it works. Alright, so here's the grinder. To deal with the vibration problem, or help deal with it, I spent the money, I know it was killing me. I bought a CBN wheel. I've always wanted to try one out. They ain't cheap, but anyway, I bought a CBN wheel. I've got my tool rest set up. Everything is clamped down over here. I've lined my guide block up with this 2-degree scribe lines on there. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but there's a little notch cut out right here. That notch is to line up the edge of the tool, so I have the flutes horizontal in the in the grinder. So this one is ready to go. Let's fire it up and see how it does. Okay, it's not touching at all right now, so we'll go click out. Okay, that's 2 clicks and we're just barely making contact. Barely contact. And that's it. Try to get this in there where you can see it. I probably should go back and get this secondary relief angle some more, but for my status as amateur machinist, we'll see how it works just like this. You can see I had a 1/2 inch of travel on this thing. I used, I think, 3 or 4 clicks, so not even 1 revolution of the adjusting knob. And I've restored this surface. So let's throw it on the mill and see how it does. I'm going to dial in a 40 thou depth of cut. I'm happy with that. That'll make my day every day. You know, is it Toolmaker's grade? I'm sure it's not. But, you know, for what I do around here, you know, I'm chewing through something and I screw up an end mill, and I got a way I could fix it and keep on trucking. You know, I got a way to get a few bucks back on all those junk end mills I buy at estate sales. Very happy with that. Very nice finish. Like I say, for me, that's as good as I need to get it. And with that, I am out of here. Hey, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.